What is going on, guys, and welcome to another how to play video. And today we're going to be learning how to play Drow Ranger. Hopefully you guys do enjoy. If you guys do, leave a like and a comment, and consider subscribing and joining the Dota Chronicles community. We've been growing very quickly, and I'm super thankful for all your support. Now let's break down first of all the facet and the innate abilities. So the facet you guys are going to be wanting to use is Vantage Point, which means Drow gains 20% more damage when attacking from the high ground. This is very strong because usually you are going to be getting your shard either from Tormentor or you're going to be buying it on your own. It's a very decent shard, and it puts you on the high ground because Glacier kind of puts you up on this pedestal of ice, and you're going to be able to get that high ground advantage, and it's going to make you do a lot more damage. 20% is definitely no joke, and Drow is a hero that hits very hard, especially the later the game goes. The innate ability is Precision Aura, which basically Drow and her allies get bonus agility based on Drow's agility and levels. It isn't a crazy amount, but it is really nice to have. The fact that you're just gaining bonus agility is always going to be very fantastic for this hero. And marksmanship is one of the key reasons this hero has always been very strong. It's because marksmanship ignores base armor. It is just so strong. That's why you're good up against heroes like Terrorblade, very high armor heroes, very tanky heroes like Centaur and such. You're able to just burst through them very quickly thanks to your marksmanship and your frost arrows. Drow is also one of these carries that if you pair them correctly, they can actually be very aggressive in lane, and you can actually get quite a bit of kills. And she's not as fragile as you guys think. She's actually pretty decently tanky if you build her correctly and find yourself in some good situations with proper positioning, because that is one of the things you guys should learn if you want to pick up Drow, is you need to have solid positioning. Think of Drow as like a sniper. You are a little bit fragile, but at the same time you could punish heroes very easily if you have the right positioning and the right backup from your supports. So I recommend pairing Drow Ranger with heroes like Vengeful Spirit, Tusk, Ogre Magi, Lich. These heroes are going to unlock you much faster than other heroes would. Heroes like Hoodwink are also really good. I love the Hoodwink Drow lane, but especially Vengeful. She just makes your lane a lot easier to play with. Not only is she a ranged hero and she can back you up, she also has a stun, and you're going to be doing a lot more right click damage thanks to her. Overall, a very strong dual lane, so highly recommended. You will be getting a lot more kills. But heroes like Tusk and Ogre are also really solid because they're just going to be beefcakes right in front of you. You're going to be buffed with Bloodlust in case of picking the Ogre, and that's always going to be really nice. That extra attack speed is going to help you land more frost arrows in the early game, and heroes like Tusk can just easily help you close the gap thanks to Drinking Buddies. That ability is really nice to play with the Drow, can help you bridge the gap, and also Ice Shards is really nice for trapping enemies inside, so you're able to get more frost arrows and get your multi-shot. So these types of heroes are very good pairings, and you're going to get a lot of benefits from playing with these heroes. So if you guys can speak to your teammate or you are playing in dual queue, make sure you are asking for these supports. It's just going to help you secure your laning phase much better and have an easier time, and you're going to be able to be very active in the lane and actually enjoy and not having to farm as heavily because you're going to be farming more heroes. Now let's break down what your typical build is on Drow and why you want to build these items. So typically you want to build Treads straight into Dragonlance, and then you get a Yasha, but you guys should be picking up a Wraithband on the way and maybe a Null Talisman. If it's a very heavy harass lane, the Wraithband is going to help you a lot, and the Null Talisman is going to help you harass a lot more. It's going to help you cast more multi-shots. It's also going to help you just do overall more damage and be able to farm a lot faster. So I do recommend the Null Talisman. It is an item that's in a pretty good spot in the meta, so you should be picking it up and pairing it up with the Wraithband if you are having a good lane. If not, then definitely pick up the Null Talisman on its own and ignore the Wraithband. You're already getting pretty much a lot of agility, so it's not a must, but having mana regen on Drow is always going to be very good, because if you're spamming a lot of frost arrows, especially in the lane or the mid game in these team fights, you're going to need that extra mana regen, and Null Talisman is going to have your back for that. Other items you need to pick up is the Aghanim Scepter and the Manta Style. These are quintessential items in Drow's kit. Very important for you guys to pick these up. The Aghanim Scepter is just absolutely fantastic, reduces healing and just does a fuck ton of damage, especially against heroes like Morphling, Necrophos, or very tanky heroes like Centaur. You do a ton of work to these heroes. The Aghanim Scepter should be pretty much your third item right after your Dragonlance and your Yasha, and then you go back for your Manta Style. Then you can get a BKB, you can get a Silver Edge, but you should also be completing the Hurricane Pike as soon as possible. A lot of players actually finish the Hurricane Pike before getting the Scepter. It really depends. If you really need that Hurricane Pike before the Scepter, then obviously finish it up. It's going to be very quickly for you to pick that up once you have the Dragonlance, but I do like to go for the Dragonlance and then for the Aghanim Scepter. I sometimes skip the Yasha completely completely. It is nice to have the Yasha. That extra movement speed is nice, and the attack speed, and you could eventually get an S and Y if need be. If it's a really difficult game, Sonya and Yasha could get you out of some sticky situations and allow you to kind of get away. But since Drow is very heavily based on positioning, Hurricane Pike is always going to benefit you, and it really pains me to see a lot of Drow players being extremely greedy when they have a really good game, and I see them getting Daedalus or Monkey King bars and they don't have a single defensive item. You got to think of Drow in this sort of mentality where if you're able to actually hit heroes, you're going to be killing everybody. But if you're being stun locked or you're being chased around, or there's a lot of heroes that can easily close the gap on you, blink on top of you, or relocate you with a punch hook and stuff like that, you need to be building defensive items. You're already doing a crap ton of damage thanks to marksmanship and your frost arrows, so please build some defensive items. You should always have your Hurricane Pike and either a BKB or a Silver Edge to be able to position a lot better, and Silver Edge is always going to be a fantastic item. I love building Silver Edge pretty much almost every single game on this hero. Some games are not as important when you're facing up against heroes like Bounty Hunter and Slardar. Obviously, there's not a lot of value into the item anymore. When those heroes are not in play, I do like to build a Silver Edge. That crit does so much damage with your frost arrows, with the hypothermia stacks from the Aghanim Scepter, so it's just a lot of burst damage that you guys cannot ignore. It's a very, very good item to be picking up. And then eventually in the ultra late game, if you guys want to pick up items like Moon Shard, or you want to pick up a Butterfly, or even a Scotty. I do like Scotty quite a bit. It makes you a lot tankier, and the Scotty slow is going to be nice because sometimes in the late game team fights are really long and you're going to be running out of mana and you're not going to have a whole lot to go for those frost arrows. Even though they don't cost a lot, once you have a lot of attack speed, you're going to be burning through that mana, and having the Scotty is going to always feel really great. You're going to be able to cast more frost arrows because you're going to have a bigger mana pool, and also even more regen reduction, which is always going to be really good. Now let's break down some of the best and worst matchups for Drow. Some of the best matchups are Lina, Anti-Mage, Necrophos, Terrorblade, Bristleback. These heroes you are really good up against. Heroes like Slark typically are good up against the Drow, but once you build items like Hurricane Pike, you're going to be able to get away from these matchups, and even items like Silver Edge are also going to benefit you a lot against the Slark matchup. But if the Slark is just out farming you a lot, it's going to be a lot more difficult for you to be able to deal with him. But you do a lot more damage than the Slark can do to you, unless he's just built a shit ton of stacks and he's just way too overfarmed. But one of the good things about Drow is Slark will not be able to bridge the high ground with Drow being alive. It's just not going to happen. There's no way he can just jump over the high ground and target the Drow because you have so many escape tools if you built her properly. But if you built her super aggressively with no defensive items, Slark's just going to eat you for breakfast. Also, heroes like Slardar are very difficult for you to go up against, but these matchups you're really solid against. Heroes like Terrorblade, not only are they not in meta, but you have always been really good because of marksmanship that ignores base armor. So Terrorblade is pretty much a walk in the park in that matchup. You can easily take care of him, and heroes like Necrophos, once you have your Aghanim Scepter, are pretty easy for you to take care of. Anti-Mage, thanks to your Gust, you're going to be able to kill quite easily, especially if he's unsuspecting. And if you are struggling with an Anti-Mage, you could always pick up a Blink Dagger and deal with him that way. You could also pick up a Bloodthorn if he's getting way too close to you and you have no Bloodthorn buyers. You could consider picking that up. Revenant's Brooch, also a really good item. There's a lot of things you can build on this hero, which is one of the things I love. You do have a few staples that you must play her with, but everything else is pretty much up to what you need depending on the game. Some of the bad matchups are Phantom Lancer, Lycan, Spectre, Primal Beast, Pudge, Naga Siren. These heroes that can easily get on top of you. Heroes like Storm Spirit as well are also really good. Ember Spirit, pretty much all the spirits can easily get on top of you and can become quite problematic for you. And if you don't have items like BKB or a Lincoln Sphere in some cases, you're going to be struggling. So building more defensively on matchups where they can easily close the gap, or they have a lot of blink buyers, you could struggle a lot against these matchups. So please keep in mind, build more defensively. Don't be super greedy. You're always going to do a lot of damage. But heroes like Lycan right now are super popular in the meta. Pudge is pretty much the most popular here in Dota. He is picked or banned every single game, so you will see a lot of Pudges. If they blink and dismember you with a couple of heroes behind him, he will be able to take care of you. But if you're able to start landing your arrows onto him, Pudge is pretty much a walk in the park. But if he gets the initiation onto you, you will die a few times. And heroes like Phantom Lancer are pretty difficult to kill. It's a lot of illusions, but you could get a Gleipnir as maybe your third or fourth item, and the matchup isn't as terrible as you guys think. Thanks to the hypothermia stacks, you can do a lot better against this matchup. MPL likes to buy hearts, so you're able to deal with that regen a lot better. But heroes like Lycan are really tough in the meta right now. Carry Lycan is pretty prevalent in the meta, and I will be making a video on that pretty soon, so hopefully you guys stay tuned for that. Lycan's always been really good up against the Drow. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and learned something. If you guys did, consider subscribing and joining the Dota Chronicles community, and leave a comment and let me know what is your favorite carry right now. I think Drow is just absolutely solid and always going to be a really solid pick, and you guys should be picking picking her up as often as possible. If you guys keep the matchups in mind and keep your positioning in mind, you will be doing just fine and winning a lot more MMR thanks to this hero. I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.